Yes. Now, brothers and sisters, you all watched the video and you all saw what that scholar of Islam, who claimed to be a Muslim scholar, I don't know, from Ghana, was interviewed by a Christian lady who is not a Muslim, trying to pull up his attire for her to see. Probably, I'm not against him to say such a thing, but saying it in the right way. Now, what the points I would like to raise from his statement. One of them, he said that alcohol is forbidden on earth. That is good. Now, if Allah is the God of the heaven and the earth, He forbids what is forbidden. It does not change. Because the Quran has mentioned that alcohol is forbidden on earth. We found the first in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the second chapter of the Quran, verse 2:1. I've said it earlier before in the previous episode about the forbidding of alcohol in Islam. When Allah revealed this, the first verse, because these Arabs are used to taking of alcohol. They are fond of, they sell it, they won't drink it. They take it as fun. Even in the lifetime of the Prophet saw that. Well, Allah revealed to him, said, tell them about this. He said, as the verse goes like this, they ask you about the alcohol and the game of chance. Qul, said to them, that فِهِمَّا إِثْمُ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. And if there is there's a greater sin and little benefits. There's benefits as well. But he continues to say, وَإِثْمُهُمَّا أَكْبَرَ مِنَ نَفْعِهِمَا. Then their sin is greater than their benefits. This is what the Quran says in that verse. Then later, that was abrogated. Another verse came up in Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4 of the Quran. Because despite the verse, Allah is trying to be polite here, to be diplomatic here in that Surah Al-Baqarah. Because he said, okay, there's some benefits, taking it either for your health issues, or probably some people who have some strong health issues can still take it. You can try and take it, but yet understand the fact that the sin of it is greater than what? The benefit. And the further saying in that Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 4-3, he said, because some companions will take it, just to say, okay, let me sit with some solutions. Let's just put it inside in a kettle. At least we drink it, will not be caught. Some of them will go hide hiddenly and go and drink it. So that the Prophet will not find out, or some companions will not find out, who are faithful, probably, to the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they will go and drink it, some of them. So they will come to Salah, they will be moved, they will be shaking and speaking a lot rubbish and trying to be, speaking out of their mind. They were not in their right senses. They'll be speaking gibberishly. So the apostle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala noticed that. Then the verse came down again. So tell them not to approach Salah when in the state of drunkenness. So that's what the verse says. In Surah Al-Nisa, verse 43. It said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تأكلون. Do not approach prayer, O believers, while you are in the state of drunkenness, unless you know what you are saying. Yet, outside Salah, they will go and take it. Then Allah abrogate that verse with another verse found in Surah Al-Ma'idah. And some scholars, according to the Mufassirin, they agree that Surah Al-Ma'idah is the last surah of the Quran. Now, a verse came finally to the believers. It says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والمسير والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون. That shows it. I say, oh, you believers, alcohol, game of chance, throwings of heads, and arrows, it is a bad and detestable thing amongst the actions of Shaitan. Avoid them. Desist from it. So that you'll be successful. So if you want to have falah as a believer, you must avoid alcohol at all costs. If you want to have falah, success in this life, that's why go and find out every successful man must avoid alcohol. If you don't avoid alcohol and gambling, you will not be successful. Because gambling and alcohol usurp your financial position, takes off your money, usurp your possession. Sometimes people sell their properties for alcohol and gambling. So you should be careful with those things because those are the things that bring you down financially. Health-wise, the same thing. When you take much alcohol, it damages your liver. It causes headache. These are symptoms of excessive alcohol. Even lead to that. When you start speaking rubbish, you start moving around, you might fall into a gutter, and that you might be injured. These are the consequences of one who drinks alcohol. So it is not advisable for as a believer to take alcohol because, for example, as a believer with this attire, I go to a beer parlor, I take just a sip of beer, and I don't know the state of my mental health. And if I take this sip of beer and I get moved by it and I start misbehaving and start doing rubbish against Islam, and few minutes later, my eye got cleared, and I said, what did I do? They were all laughing at me. Look at you, Sheikh. We're doing something. You to them. So it is not advisable for people to take alcohol. So less that you go to heaven in paradise. Now in paradise, Allah says, go to some. I would like this brother, this scholar, who has said that in paradise there are 4 drinks. Right, there are drinks we take in paradise. Rivers of what? Of water? Yes, rivers of water is there. Rivers of wine is there. Wine without alcohol, please, brother and sister. Wine without alcohol. Rivers of honey is there. Take honey on that day. And rivers of pure drink, as was mentioned in some verses on the Quran. For example, like Surah Al-Insan, chapter 76 of the Holy Quran, verse 15, 19, 21. It was said that in that verse when mentioned, it said that يَتُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَكْوَابُ كَانًا, that they will come around him a kwab, a plate, a goblet. And kanan kawari, they are like glasses on that day. They will have goblet of glasses. In other words, where yasqana fiha, they will drink a kasa, a cup. They will drink a cup. Kana mizajuha and zanjabila. Then on that particular day, they will drink from a cup of wine, made of ginger, pure wine. As Allah mentioned in the second following verse of that same Surah Al-Insan, when He talks about their dressing and the drink they will drink, He said, وَعَلَيْهِ تِيَابُ السُّدُوس. For them, they will have 6 dresses. What are they? Al-Khudur. One of them, Al-Khudru. One of them is a green cloth, very dressed, a very good attire. Another was Stabraka, a broclet. Another dressing again, we have Al-Hulwul, Al-Asawir. And finally it says, Saqahum Rabbuhum Sharaba Tahura. Then your Lord will give them drink. Pure drink. Not drink that contains intoxicant. Pure drink. Day of judgment. So where did this scholar see that Allah will give them drink and they will get intoxicated, they will get misbehaved, they will not fly like aeroplane and fall on top of their woman? No. In paradise, we don't get married in paradise. Allah did not mention a verse that said we get married in paradise. He only say that if you marry a woman here on earth, if you are a believer on earth, and you get married to a believer on earth, that's why Allah has encouraged your believers to marry believers. Because believing men is for believing women. When you marry a believing woman on earth, you and your wife, successful marriage, will go in paradise married as well. If you are not married, because not all people get married, if you are not married on earth, then when you get to paradise, Allah will give you a spouse. It's part of the pleasure of Jannah. That's why Allah says, and Jannah to Na'im. Part of the pleasure. That's why in paradise there's no intoxication. Intoxication is not pleasure. So that was why Allah says in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. I'll just end in Surah Al-Waqi'ah and Surah Al-Safat. When Allah talks about this, He says Surah Al-Waqi'ah. When He said, Al-Kawab, Al-Wa'abariqa, Al-Kasami Ma'in. That on that day they will give a goblet and a plate, golden plate, and a pure drink on that day. Then it continues when it says, so it says, La yusaddaun anha. Wala yuzafun. Wala yuzafun. On that day, that drink will not intoxicate. It will not give them headache. They will not have a headache of the drink they will drink of the paradise. So no headache. There's nothing like headache there. So if alcohol gives headache as one of the symptoms, so there you will not have headache. Neither you will be distressed or be troubled. In the Surah to Safat, it confirmed what was said in Surah to Waqa. When it says about, it said, Allah talks about the issue of the wine. He said that, use the word, وَلَا فِيهَا يُصَدَّعُونَ عَنْهَا وَلَا فِيهَا. You know what I say? وَلَا فِيهَا غَوْلُوا وَلَا يُصَدَّعُونَ عَنْهَا. Now, on the day of judgment, they will not have headache, troubled. وَلَا يُزِفُونَ. So we see from those verses that they will not have, because the word hal also means sadda, headache. They were troubled. So this is exactly what the Quran says. So where this man saw that when you get to paradise, you will drink and fly like an aeroplane. Allah, we should respect Quran. Allah tells us we should not lie against the Quran.
He has become among those kadabin, one who forges lie against the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what Allah has sent down, he has forged lie against him. And when you forge lie against him, the punishment is hellfire. So we should be careful with our statements and what we quote from the Quran. That's why I believe, brothers and sisters, we should not take the Quran as a ridicule. Because what this man is doing is ridiculing the Quran and giving the room for the non-believers to criticize the Quran. To say, oh, Al-Quran encourages Muslims to drink alcohol, that in paradise they will drink alcohol. These are what they say. So brothers and sisters, please, I will end here on this episode. Because I believe that this is an impactful story or lesson for us that we should learn and put in our daily lives. One is to follow the Quran to understand it, and the other is to know what to say. Thank you, brothers and sisters. My name is on this platform of Islam. Please, I would like you all to share this video for those people who wish to learn. Thank you very much.